Is it actually possible to make $100,000 per year as a bookkeeper? We're gonna start by breaking down the math of that question, like how many clients would you need, how many hours would you need to work per week, and then compare that to the expenses that you might have as a bookkeeper. And the second half of the video is just my thoughts about pros and cons, things that'll really help you reach your high income goal, and then things to think about that might be harder, like more of the downsides to it. So there's a lot of different ways you can do this math, but let's just start by saying, what is your monthly goal? So if you want to make $100,000 a year, divide that by 12, your monthly is $8,333. So we're going to kind of use that as a ballpark. So for this example, let's say you want to work 30 hours a week. So you want to bill 30 hours a week, and then maybe the other 10 are spent on admin tasks for your bookkeeping business. So at 30 hours a week, charging $70 an hour, you can hit the goal of $100,000. So in my opinion, this is very possible as a bookkeeper. I personally have only ever worked part-time as a bookkeeper, but I've been around a long time and talked to a lot of bookkeepers, seen a lot of online posts, and people are doing this. So what would your client list look like if you're working 30 hours a week? So one example is you could have 12 clients that each pay you $695, so almost $700, and you have 12 of those clients, and then that'll get you to your goal. Maybe you tend to have smaller clients, so you have more then. So you'd have 20 clients that each pay $400. And most likely you're gonna have a mix of small, medium, and large clients. I have a video all about small, medium, large if you want to hear more about that. And I also have this client calculator you can download. I'll leave a link in the description box, but you can plug in different income amounts, like your goals, and you can also plug in how many you would need of each type of client. As is logical, you can usually get this done with fewer large clients. So if you have, 5 clients each paying about $1,000, that'll get you to your goal. Or if they're smaller clients, you'll need more of them, but then they don't take as long. And honestly, if you're just starting out, it's probably really overwhelming to think about this whole complex web of how many clients do I have? How much do I charge them? But wherever you're at, if you want to grow, just be this year, I'm going to get 3 clients. Just kind of keep the ball rolling in small steps. Let's talk briefly about expenses as a bookkeeper. So again, I have a video on how much does it cost to be a bookkeeper. You can watch after this. I actually just downloaded my resource from that I made for that video. And just to give you kind of an outline of what expenses you might expect. So I'll put this up on the screen, but QuickBooks is going to be an expense. For this, I have a virtual assistant. You pay $200. Starting out, you probably wouldn't even do that. Phone insurance is a big one. So this has $46 a month for insurance. And then just kind of other basic expenses you might have in any business you run. So advertising, internet, office supplies, accountant if you want someone to do your taxes, a computer, so that would be maybe replacing your computer every couple of years, your website, your business license, that is a yearly fee for me, so it's $150 a year, so then I broke that down as a monthly expense as well. If you want to pay for email, and then health insurance, I know that would be a big one if you're self-employed. Right now we're getting my health insurance through my husband's business, so that is nothing, that's zero for me right now. So that's just a quick overview, but one reason I chose bookkeeping is because I do feel like it has really low overhead. So for the amount of money that you can make, you don't have to, there's not that many expenses. QuickBooks is really your biggest expense. Next, let's talk about 5 different things that you need to think about if you want to hit this income goal. This is going to be possible as a business owner, not as an employee. So if you're working for another company, they're never going to pay you that amount. And then to take this a step further, most people that I have talked to that are making higher income amounts, they have bookkeepers working for them. So both my husband and I own our own businesses, and I've kind of realized through the years that having employees helps you scale your business. And in some ways it makes income a little bit more passive. Say as a bookkeeper, I have a client and they pay me $1,000 per month to do bookkeeping services. And I own that client, I found them, I have the relationship with them, but then maybe I contract with other bookkeepers at a lower hourly rate. So maybe I pay my contractors $30 an hour because they're just starting out and they're kind of working under my umbrella. So then of course the business owner gets to take home the difference. So however much you paid your employee at $30 an hour is likely less than that $1,000 that you're getting. So if you do this multiple times, you can see that this will kind of snowball, and that is how you can scale your business. And I totally understand that might sound outlandish to you right now, but over time, think about this in the long haul. Right now you're just focusing on getting your first client, your second client, your third client. Over time, some of these things that I'm mentioning will seem more plausible. All right, number 2, you've heard this before, you can charge more if you're very specialized. So if you have a bookkeeping niche of real estate agents, of lawyers, of medical people, whatever your niche is, these people value your industry expertise and they're gonna pay more for it, and it's gonna help you find clients easier because you'll be known in that area, in that niche. And if you're looking for some extra help right now, I do have a class all about getting bookkeeping clients. So how to get really good clients, quality, high paying bookkeeping clients. So that's called Bookkeeper Marketing Coach. A good place you can start is the free masterclass. It's how I got my first 3 real clients. It's linked in my description box. And I have tons of other free and paid resources on my website, FinePoints.biz. I think I've already mentioned a few of them in this video, like the one where you can calculate clients or the one with the expenses. So check out my website if you want more stuff for bookkeepers. Number 3 is add-on services, increase revenue. So anytime you're doing more complex bookkeeper tasks, so if you're doing payroll, if you're doing complicated cleanups, if you are consulting, if you learn how to create like a financial dashboard for your client. Sometimes you can even take clients that you've had for a few years, and as their business grows, they might need more help with more complex things. And then as you provide more value to them, you can charge more. Number 4 is take inspiration from bookkeepers who are already doing this. So get on those Facebook groups, get on those online forums, and ask other bookkeepers how they are earning that income goal that you want to get to. I promise you, people are doing this, but they are not treating bookkeeping as a hobby. Like, I don't treat it as a hobby, but I treat it as a kind of a part-time side hustle for myself. And that's just what I've chosen to do. That's the kind of lifestyle that I am choosing to lead right now. But bookkeepers who make top dollar, they are investing in people, they're investing in technology. They have really, really good systems so that when they're onboarding a client, it's like bam, 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 like they can just do it really quickly. So yes, it will be challenging, but I totally think that it is possible. Number 5 is that you control your own profit margin. So we kind of touched on this when we talked about the earning potential and the low overhead. Google said a bookkeeping business can have like a 70% profit margin. I think I have even higher than that because I just don't have that many expenses. And a lot of that stuff is in your control. So like I said, raise your prices every so often. As you become more specialized, as you get additional training, that is definitely fair. This isn't necessarily an industry that is static. You have a lot of control over what you're doing. So make sure you're very strategic in your pricing and in what you're spending money on. Now I'll give you the other side of the coin, like the realistic, some downsides that you might want to keep in mind as well as you're creating your income goal as a bookkeeper. Number 1, if you look up the salary for a bookkeeper, it is a lot less than $100,000. So usually it's like $30,000 a year to like maybe 50, 51, depending on your credentials and things like that. So it is true that the majority of bookkeepers out there probably don't care enough to make a big lofty goal. You know, they're content with what they're making, and that is 100% fine. But if you do have a higher goal, you are going to have to hustle, work hard, and make sure you hit it. Going along with that, number 2 is people kind of expect bookkeepers to be cheap. And I have a video where I talk about this, and I kind of talk about like the historical thoughts about bookkeepers, like how we started. Oftentimes, like people think of bookkeepers as like an office manager and who, you know, have a few bookkeeping tasks thrown in. And then there's also kind of like the historical stigma about being a contractor versus an employee. So as an employee, you'll make less money. And as a contractor working for yourself, you can set your own prices. I can't remember the title of that video, but I'll try to link it below for you guys. It gives you strategies on negotiating to be a contractor and being able to set your own rates as a bookkeeper. But just know, using the word bookkeeper, you know, there's kind of a little bit of baggage that goes along with that word. And so for that reason, some people will call themselves an accountant, a CPA, or like a CFO, like a financial officer. So far, I've only felt comfortable using the term bookkeeper, but you can do a little research on that. And I think it does depend on where you live. Sometimes there's regulations, like you can't be called an accountant unless you know, have a certain degree or a certification. And then again, that leads into my third point. Oftentimes, if you want to make more, then you need to have more certifications. So that could be something specialized in your niche. You could go get an accounting degree if you want and then still run your own business. Maybe you're certified in a special software that's unique to an industry, but sometimes that just does take more time and schooling and a little bit of money too. Number 4, you will spend time on non-billable tasks. So this is kind of annoying as any business owner, but obviously you're gonna have to be doing things. You're gonna have to be networking. You're gonna have to be working on your website. You're gonna have to be updating things. You're gonna have to run your own payroll if you have people working for you. There are definitely admin tasks. And I think you can be smart, strategic, you can be really efficient, but that is definitely a reality of running a business. And number 5 is just that it's not gonna be easy. There are going to be struggles for sure. You might feel really burnt out at times. I mentioned this early, but you know, you have to have the hustle mentality. You need to have really good systems. You're gonna be doing a whole lot of client management as you grow and get more clients. But if you set a big goal and work towards it every single year, every single week, I truly believe that you can do it. So hopefully this provided some food for thought, some pros and cons, and things you can think about as you're growing your bookkeeping business. Good luck, and I will talk to you next week with a new video.